Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences, and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello, dear viewer, dear listener. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Let me welcome you once again to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Always a privilege and honor for me to present yet another episode, and I do think you're going to love this one. And as always, I urge you to please subscribe. It would be really nice if you just hit that subscribe button before we proceed. My guest is Mr. Kesogofetse Wanano Tsetse, who is from Wanano Motors, but as always, I prefer that my guests introduce themselves. Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom.
Thank you, sir, Mr. Mogobe. I'm very happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. What can you tell us in terms of a condensed CV about yourself, a short introduction?
Myself, I'm an accountant by profession and an entrepreneur by passion. So I started entrepreneurship immediately after my completion of my degree in UB. I started by selling shoes, but even from a young age, I was selling small things like sweets. I was selling T-shirts. I was selling almost anything. So from a young age, I was just into sales. As I grew up, I began to notice I have a passion for working for myself. I grew up from a family also of entrepreneurs who started businesses, and it grew me really to start my own thing. And I'm here today, happy, growing, and I'd say the journey is quite interesting.
Tell us about a little bit about academics.
Yes, sir.
What did you do?
I did a degree in accounting, and then I further went on to professionalize my accounting career. I am currently studying CIMA. So CIMA is a professional chartered accountants. We study really the management of costs, how we can grow businesses. It's a very relevant course in today's world, and I've seen it benefit me greatly. Yeah. Okay. And tell us about, let's talk about Wanano Motors. Why Wanano? Did you just take your name and like... Actually, it's a funny story. Wanano Motors is a company trading under another company called Kemonoke. So my original company was Kemonoke because the idea was to give people the picture that we're going to stand with you, walk with you, take you through the whole process of how you purchase your car to the point where we give you a key and you're going. So along the way, as we're expanding, as we're growing, I consulted some business consultants, and they felt it'll be awesome to have the company under my name as Wanano. They were quite convincing. They spoke about how Mercedes is the name of the daughter, how Lamborghini is the man's name, Ford, Ferrari. So they're like, you should do it as well. And I was like, okay. I wasn't comfortable with it at first, but I've come to see people love the name, and people are really connecting with us.
So is it Kemonoke trading as Wanano?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And why did you choose the motor industry specifically?
I'd say it was an act of God in a way. I chose the motor industry because for a long time, like I say, both my parents were entrepreneurs. So both of their businesses, which they started with, had to do with a car. My mother had taxis. My father, he had a driving school. He had a school bus. So as I was growing, I began to see the need for a car. There was a point in our family where we were suffering financially. We spent almost 10 years without a car. So that time was very hard. I was schooling in Gaborone. I would see other kids being picked up with their cars, and I always had that desire for, I wish we had a car. So when I grew up, an opportunity presented itself to sell cars through a former worker of my mother. He was doing the business, and I didn't want to work for anyone. So ideally, I talked to him, and he was comfortable with showing me the ropes. And indeed, since he was doing it for over 10 years, I got to glean so much, and I started immediately with multiple connections, multiple doors open. And I think that's why today Wanano Motors is what it is, because we just had a grace door open for us in a way. Yeah.
When you say what it is, can you describe what it is in terms of, size and volumes and numbers?
Yes. Currently, we are operating in 2 locations. We are operating in Gaborone and Francistown. We have a hierarchy of employees of 10 employees, each leading a department. We have the marketing, accounting departments, the HR departments, and then we have the general managers who oversee the whole operations of the company. And then in terms of monetary value, we have a turnover within the millions. I think our first quarter we made the amount we made the whole of last year. Wow. So I'd say it's going good so far, and it keeps growing. Social media is playing a big impact. Everywhere we go, whether I'm out in a mall, whether I'm just eating at a restaurant, you hear people saying, Wanano Motors. So I think in terms of volume, finances, structure, we're very settled, and then we really love the social response we're receiving from the society.
Okay. Speaking of social response, there was a time when people referred to some of your vehicles as Fonkongs. What do you think about that, and why were they called Fonkongs?
Well, from what I've noticed or what I know about the cars, a lot of people call them Fonkongs because where we get them is a country called Japan. So Japan produces these vehicles for the Japanese. Then they use them, and then because of that legislature, they can't use the car for too long a period, not more than 5 years. So what happens, they pack those cars and they begin to auction them out to various continents. So Africa is one of the biggest importers of these cars. So in terms of Fonkong, the cars aren't really Fonkong because they're being produced by the very companies that are producing the same car in Germany. It's just that we get them as second hands.
Yes.
But when you look at the condition, because Japan is a first world country, the technology is way ahead, you find that these cars, not only are they affordable, but they're highly durable and usable in current markets. That's why you find even countries like New Zealand, Australia, we have Zimbabwe, the whole of SADC is starting to import these cars. So the market for the cars is growing. Even Thailand right now is importing these cars because they're not from Kong, they're just produced in a different location.
And talking about markets like Japan, I've also know that there's Singapore.
Yes, sir.
On what basis do you decide which market to go for and where to import?
Usually we research with the mechanics who have experience with these cars for over 10 years. So in talks with them, a lot of them were just speaking that the Singapore and the Japan cars are the same. Usually what I've noticed would be the change maybe in body structure, but in terms of functionality, the cars are mostly the same. Yeah.
Now, if somebody is targeting the luxury market, do you advise them to get a brand new vehicle locally, or is it better to get someone like you to assist in terms of savings, in terms of any other benefits?
It's a tough one. I'd say it depends on the person's attitude toward risk. So basically we're all importing. I have a friend who was ordering a Hilux from a big motor dealership. They told him we can only get it here in 4 weeks. We still have to import it. So you find we're all importing. Just that the difference, some have stock readily available. So in terms of what I would advise a person, I would advise a person explore your options, and then based on your character, do what fits you best. But in terms of importing, the process has become so much easier because everything is global now. We have companies in Dubai, we have companies in the UK, we have companies all over, even in America. I've seen one of my competitors import a car from America. So everything is just simple now because of the globalization, because of the digital world.
Yes.
So even the risk is way, way low. In terms of does the car arrive in a good condition, you choose how you ship. So safety really just depends on you, your pockets. But in terms of ordering, you find people can save upwards of 200,000 on luxury cars. So
in terms of quality, but
yeah, in terms of quality, like I once had a lady who was inquiring about a Range Rover. So I have connections in the UK. I have an uncle who's been living there for over 10 years. Sourcing that car was easier than us getting a Honda Fit in Japan. And we got it from a certified Range Rover dealership. So the price was still 200,000 less than what we were seeing locally. And the car quality was just...
taking into account import costs as well?
Yes, sir. Including shipping and other
What
things.
I've heard people argue is that some of these vehicles are designed for those markets in terms of the weather and so on, and they're not really robust enough to survive the African weather. What is your view on that?
My view on that is that the world is changing and the world is adapting. So we've come to see that though that statement is true, many locations have adapted in terms of the parts they make. So if I need to replace a tire, for example, they come with snow tires sometimes. Already we have the tires here that are designed for Africa, just to switch those tires. Talking about the fuel pumps, they give us, maybe it's a plastic, this side, they decided since Africa's hot, let's do it a metal. So you find people are adapting, and then also because the cars are in high demand and there's a high influx, it's easier to get the parts should anything happen because of those manufacturing faults.
Okay.
So, yeah.
2-3 years ago, there was a big hullabaloo with BRS where your businesses came to a halt. What was all the noise about, and how did you get out of that mess?
Yeah, so that mess, there were speculations that a lot of car dealerships were underpricing or undervaluing the cars. So BRS just stopped everything, and then I remember during that time they were asking for receipts, they're asking for proof of payment to the bank, they're asking for so many things, of which it raised a question to me. So all along, all of this was happening, or was sort of speculated that is happening, and they just caught it now after so many years, over 20 years. So in terms of how we dealt with it, I think the market, like I say, just adapts, changes, and at the time I think I was very much concerned that why don't they have a template which they could tell us, okay, for this small car we want this amount, this, so that I thought it would be better than having to speculate, or okay, this one is reducing, this one is not reducing. Yeah,
so there was some truth that the government was not dealt with fairly by dealers here and there, or was it just an exaggerated situation?
I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I could only speak for me that we do things above board on the table, and then, like I say, these are second-hand. So you find, like when we buy them, we buy directly from Japan as well. You find you're auctioning a vehicle. Okay. So in an auction, it's always about try to price it as low as possible so that you can make a substantial profit. So I believe a lot of dealerships were winning in that area of auctions. So as they were winning in the auctions, what they would do, they would look at the market value of the car, and then they price the car based on the market value, not on how much they were buying it.
A lot of people getting into new business will cry about capital and challenges associated with raising funds.
Yes,
how did you deal with the challenge of capital generation and initial investment?
Hey, that one, I'll say I clawed my way to capital. So as I was growing, I had a lot of entrepreneurs around me. I love keeping older people around me who've done business, who've been a while into business. So I had a lot of people who already had years in business and had money, and they would see how much I was working, they would see how much I was pushing, and they'd be like, okay, no, but I see what you're doing. How do you feel about receiving a certain amount for funding? And then I'm always ready for an opportunity, so I'd always take the opportunity. So how I started selling low volume of cars, so it allowed for me to take loans from Batho ba Metsel or those high interest loans. So I started that way.
Some of them go up to 15% per month. They're killer loans.
Yeah, they're killer. They had me by the neck, actually. So one of the things or reasons why I took those loans was to open my mind or force me.
Am I right? 15%?
Yeah,
10%?
15. I've paid as much as even 30%.
Oh, per month?
Yeah, per month.
That's
and the irritating thing about those loans, no matter how much interest you pay, is not reducing the principal. So you have to find a way of covering everything. So as I was growing, I began to have those issues of high interest, low sales. So, and then I decided, let me broaden my services. That's when we got to Facebook. That's when we started really serving the public, because at first I was just serving family and friends. That's why I was comfortable to take the loans, because I knew if I'm serving family and friends, no matter what,
if you default, nobody's going to break your leg.
You see, no one will break my leg.
Even
the people, even the people loaning me, I was selective because I wanted someone who understands the market, who understands what I'm doing, who trusts me as well. So fortunately, I've never had anyone break my kneecaps. Yeah, or a family member say I didn't deliver a car or something like that. So the beautiful thing about finding capital is that it teaches you to work. It teaches you to really understand that you have someone else's money and you are using it to make yourself money. Okay. So it's an appreciative process which has led us to even being funded by banks today. We grew from high interest people to professionally meeting bank requirements. So it's a good journey. That's how we started. Today we are funded by certain banks, we're funded by certain individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would you advise people who start and say, but there's no money, there's no capital?
I don't believe those statements, to be honest.
Why?
I don't believe that statement because there's always something you can do. One of the things people always say is family is always not happy for you when you are prospering. I haven't experienced that in a way because a lot of my customers are my family. So even my family is investing in my company. The reason why they're investing is because I believe you as an entrepreneur have to show a person the value or the need for them to invest in you and how they benefit above all. So I think I'm very good at that. I will approach you, I'll show you the financial statements, I'll show you my bank statements, I'll show you our page or expected sales, and I'll show you the trend over a long time. So I've shown our investors trends over a long time, and I believe capital, you can always get it somehow. If you don't have capital, start where you can. Okay. I didn't have money for a car. I started by ordering for my family. So start somewhere.
Yeah. Listening to you, talking to you, I get the sense that you're a highly driven individual. What is the source of your drive, your motivation to keep going?
I'd say there's a lot that drives me. Initially, when I started, I loved the ability to take care of myself. You know, when you grow up, they say there's a thing called adulting now.
So adulting?
Yeah, adulting. It's a term we millennials use to describe the the season you are in, where you're a young adult, you have to get a car, you have to get a house, you have to start a family, all of this thing. So you find a lot of people, we've been struggling in that area due to high unemployment and other issues. So for me, really my main motivation was to be able to take care of myself and make sure I'm not a burden on my family. And then it grew to I want to take care of myself and my family. And then it moved from I want to take care of myself and my family and my friends. So that's why you find I have people I employ who I know personally. But of course, we have a screening process. Like I say, we have an HR department. I have family members who are taken care of. I have family members who are benefiting from our business. I have family members who needed a job and we were able to facilitate a car where they can use it to their own benefit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm really driven by providing.
Is there a spiritual element in all of this?
Yes, I think it all began because of the spiritual element.
Explain.
I remember when I finished my university, I moved out of my parents' house. I told myself I want to go hungry, I want to experience life. I moved with my best friend. We moved into a house without furniture, without nothing. We just got in there. So my friend had a job. During the day, he's out working. Me, during the day, I'm there writing on my journal. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. So I'm a person who prays a lot. I'm a person who believes God can speak to us. So there were days I'd be in my room, just silent. And as I'm writing down these things, like I see the opportunities began to provide themselves. You write down, I want to sell cars. You know, the opportunity provides itself where someone who's been selling cars for decades is willing to teach you. And at the time, people were charging. And like I say, people don't always want to see people prosper. So it was quite interesting to see someone open themselves up like that to someone they don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I right in thinking that in your industry is somewhat dominated by foreign elements? Our brothers from West Africa
Yeah.
and our other brothers from the Middle East seems to be the main players.
I love
How
the
did
way you
this
put it.
how did this come about, or is it a healthy situation to have? So you are laughing, but it's a serious question.
I'm laughing because I love the way you put it. Our brothers
Yes.
from West Africa, our brothers from the Middle East.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, but like you say, to be honest, I see them exactly as how you put it, as our brothers.
Mm.
And myself in my interactions, especially with the Middle East guys, even the West African guys, they haven't taken me anyhow. A lot of them helped me. A lot of them advised me. You know, one of the people I work with here was shocked that some of the Middle East guys can send me cars without me having paid initially.
Mm.
So, in terms of is it a good thing? I would say it was an opportunity which they exploited because they had the means to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, some of them, like I have a friend from Sri Lanka, he told me when he started his motor dealership, which is in Mogobe, they just started with one car. The uncle was in Japan, so they just told him, "Uncle, there's nothing we're doing. Could you send a car?"
Mm.
That's how they started. Over 20 years later, they have over 3 garages in Botswana.
Mhm.
So I'd say they really exploited a market that didn't have suppliers.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say it's a bad thing, but at the same time, I'd say, given the current economy,
Mhm.
we really need more local enterprises supported and given the opportunity.
Okay.
Because myself, I had to make the opportunity. So it'd be good if there was legislature that could support us to penetrate an already dominated market. Because it's not an issue of can we deliver, it's an issue of who came first, from what
Okay.
I'm seeing. Yeah.
Now, what would you say are the significant challenges that you've encountered or setbacks? You could, in answering that question, deal with the issue of scams in your trade, because there's been a fair number of those as well.
Yeah, I think it's very painful for the issue of scams specifically, because I have family members who've been scammed hundreds of thousands. I have friends. So when I started the business, my main aim was, I believe I'm genuine, I believe I'm honest, and I believe if I have someone's money, it's safe. So that's what we do basically as Wanano Motors. We're an agency of safety for someone's money. So the challenges we have encountered, though we're an honest agency of safety, we've encountered delivery delays, since the corona issue. We've experienced customers requesting refunds because of these delays. We've experienced other customers being so disgruntled, they take it to social media, but we have contracts, we have everything. We try to make sure everything is above the table so that no matter what happens, you, the customer, know your money is safe. We deal with specific suppliers who also tend to lead to the slowness of delivery because they're very big and they're very safe, and they facilitate such things as refunds or changing of cars for us. So we look at all those things, and we really try to make sure everyone's safe within the transaction. We secure ourselves, our supplier, and the customer. So in all of that, we've had, like I say, those delay issues. But other than delay issues, usually because the cars are second-hand, they're being transported, you find maybe they just need a little bit of touch-up here and there, but nothing really major. Like I say, most of the cars are very good. Most of our customers, they love us because of the quality of cars we give them.
Typically, what would you say is the kind of scams that people experience, and how do you guard against them?
Typically, we experience, because we're on social media, we've experienced people forging our company or our pictures. Or
Forging?
Yeah. They would use our name.
Yeah, forging is the right word, yeah.
They'd use our pictures to convince customers to buy from them, claiming they're working for us. The reason why they do this, they would see that we're all over. So unfortunately, we've had instances where customers experienced that and they lost their money. We try to do what
They
we
just
could.
copy and paste your profile.
Yeah, they just copy and paste. And
I've had a lot of that happening to myself.
And you experienced it
I
too?
experienced it. I reported to the police. They do it a lot on Instagram and Facebook. And I reported to the authorities for their accounts to be closed. Sometimes it carries on for too long. And the police, they seem to be taking their time.
Yeah, I think that's another major
I've
issue.
heard it. I've even posted a video complaining about it.
Oh, that's good. We did a video actually about it as well. I think my PA was the one doing it at the time, explaining, guys, we can't be opening an office and you're just sending people money without having met us or anything. So it's a huge issue, especially in this digital world. It's very easy to mimic someone. It's very easy because our pictures are just out there. The moment you put it on, anyone can download it.
Yeah.
You don't have any control.
So your advice is that have a meeting, get to know the person
Exactly.
first.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what I would endorse. Any other scam?
So far.
What about the people overseas? You sending them money and not delivering?
Oh, like we say, we really research and we really take our time. So the fortunate thing about me is that when I started selling cars, I was getting them from South Africa, Durban. Like I say, I have these Pakistani friends of mine who the gentleman introduced me to. So these guys, they've been importing for a long time. So you find, before I even do anything, I consult them. I have 1, 2, 3, do you mind handling it for me? So they didn't even mind receiving a car for me, making sure everything is okay and delivering it to me for this side. So as we were growing, we began to meet other companies. As Corona hit, most companies took to social media to advertise. So we'd be able to see that, this one is a scam based on our experience with what we were learning from the Pakistanians. And then, today we have our own Japan suppliers who deliver our cars. They deliver them in great conditions. So everything is going well. Like I say, the UK, I have an uncle there who made sure everything is going perfectly. I have friends who are there. I always make sure everything is straightforward, is legit. So usually what I do, I'd rather order with my own money first, see how it arrives, the condition, and then if I see that the process is good, I can go again. So I just take it progressively. One
other thing that is troubling your industry, or I've come across, is a tendency sometimes to mess with the pedometer, the meter that determines the mileage meter. How widespread is that one?
I'm really not sure about that one, but what I know is that when we order directly, there's a form or a sheet which they check the car with. Within that form, they write the original mileage of the car. So I think that's the best way to confirm, has this thing been tampered with, has been not been tampered with. But so far, I don't think we've had.
How do you guard against it being tampered with? Because someone will say that the vehicle is only 30,000 kilometers, only to find it's 300 kilometers.
Yeah, usually we ask for that sheet for the supplier to send us. Also, we
3,000. I meant to say 30,000. Somebody would say 3,000, and it's 300,000.
So they just remove the many zeros.
Yeah.
I think.
Doesn't that happen?
I don't put it past people to do it. But what I've noticed, a lot of my suppliers, especially the ones you use, you can find a car in where 70,000, for example. You look at it, the condition, you are saying, but it's worth 70. And then you look at another car they send, it's 169,000. So a lot of them, they notice that that would pose a problem to the business in the long run. So a lot of the time they just tell us, oh no, this is the car, this is the original mileage. We didn't reduce, we didn't touch anything. So far, I'd say business is really more about trust. So work with people you trust, work with people who can secure you in as much as they're securing themselves. Work with people who understand business and the longevity of business, because business, it's eternal, it's perennial. So you always have to be thinking long term, even if you're in the short term trying to survive in the short term. So what I've experienced, like I say, most of my suppliers are just above board.
Yeah, you're right in saying business is perennial.
Yes, sir.
So any other significant challenges and setbacks?
Hey, to be honest, I didn't think this was a problem until I experienced it. Growth. Or being too big for your shoes, in other words. Yeah, so our business went from making tens of thousands in a year to making millions in a year. So that poses a problem of growth. How do you handle 40 car orders a month? How do you deal with a customer who's disgruntled? How do you keep them satisfied with the service despite the economic conditions troubling you and them? You know,
And how do you duplicate yourself?
and how do you duplicate yourself? Because you need to duplicate, because everyone is calling, when Mahu, when Orapa, when Francistown, how can you help us? So we experienced an issue of too much growth with a lack of capital. Like I say, I started out with small capital funding, you know, it went to the hundreds of thousands, and you know, today we're trying to find investors willing to even invest millions, because we've built the brand, we've built the structures, we've built everything that is legit and above board. So what we really are experiencing now is a opportunity loss problem. You have an opportunity of a customer wanting a readily available car, you have the right suppliers, the right quality, everything, but you can't source it because you have to work with orders for now, because you don't have the capital. And on top of that, when we made profits, because we wanted people to trust us, we developed an installment payment system. We're also noticing in our industry...
In other words, you keep the car and pay it as you drive it. Is that the kind of installment system?
No, we give you, you drive as you pay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
what do you pay, 50%?
Usually we receive a 50% deposit, and then the balance we usually give an installment payment of around 6 months. But it really depends on the car and what we want to do at that time. Sometimes we're giving even 1 year, looking at how the market is responding, how sales are going. We'll be offering people, no, you can pay back in 1 year, trying to reduce the installment amount to a manageable amount, because you had many people's salaries being cut, you had many people still recovering from Corona, so we felt it was best for us to stimulate the economy somehow. Yeah,
so are you winning this aspect as you scale and grow? Are you adapting?
Yeah, I'd say we're adapting, and it's very good because, you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting your business, there's a lot of informality in the beginning process. So before, we didn't have the accountants, I didn't have marketers, I didn't have HR department. Even when I was hiring my HR, I was wondering, what's the issue? Isn't it I talk to someone, if I like you, I hire you, we move. So we'd find out we had issues where some employees were not productive because even the way they came in was informal. So the beautiful thing about scaling is that you develop those structures. And for now, I'd say I really, really love my team. Highly driven, highly passionate people, and my customers love them. So it's very good for me as an entrepreneur to see the business scale grow in that way, because even tomorrow, maybe I'll have a Mogobe Plaza as well, and I'll know how I can start it, grow it, and scale it.
Okay.
Yeah, so
now, I have a question here, what keeps you going, but I think you've answered it, so let me rephrase it and say, what do you think is the biggest threat to your business?
Hey, for now, I think the biggest threat to my business would be legislature. The reason why I say that is because you find in countries like South Africa, we're getting our cars from South Africa, but South Africans, they don't use those cars because legislature decided the cars are too problematic, we don't want to use them, stuff like that. So you'll find that...
Well, isn't that an attempt to protect the car industry in South Africa?
I believe so.
Well, I believe that some of the manufacturers made it a condition that if they're going to manufacture or continue to manufacture, then the government should not import from Kongs.
Which helped them big time.
Yeah,
it really helped them.
So you think that might happen in Botswana?
I have a fear of it. I don't know if it can happen, but I have a slight fear of it.
Some years ago, we had heard that somebody like Mr. Dada and his companies were pushing government. I don't know whether it was rumors or the truth, pushing government to bring that legislation. And the HE at the time, Ski, refused. That's what I heard. What do you know about that?
I've heard those rumors as well. I've also heard them in the new president's tenure as well, that they try to revive it. So I think that's my biggest fear right now, how we're going to handle these cars being discontinued. But so far, I'd say for us, having a variety of suppliers really helps us. So we have suppliers who the same people are buying from. So we know how we can tackle that one. Should we need to be ordering the legally needed vehicles? Also, I think, I don't know why, but I really believe one day we might be producing our own cars as well. You know, I really believe Wanano Motors can move into manufacturing. So I believe, you know, should we grow, should we scale properly, it'll be good for us to develop our own model so that whatever happens, we know that we have our own type of brand of car. And I see it happening in many countries in Africa. You have those in Rwanda. Morocco is the biggest manufacturer of cars. So I think the car industry is really growing
But
towards...
mostly are they not manufacturing foreign cars that they're just being manufactured and assembled? But what about indigenous or regional African cars?
The indigenous ones, I've heard of Ghana, I've heard of Rwanda, like I say. They've been working on models suit for them.
Okay.
So I think seeing that, I think even the Moroccans, with time, they'll want to do, you know, a line for Africa maybe. That's what Bukuk are doing. That's what KFC, you know, KFC was like, we sell fried chicken, they come to Africa, they have to make palage. So I believe business is adaptative. So I believe with time, we'll see Africans, many African countries developing their own cars, especially as we're moving towards electric cars now. It will be good to see us tackle that issue or start out maybe producing hybrid cars, not having to go to petrol first. So it's all dependent on us, the entrepreneurs. How do we tackle these issues and how do you prepare for the future? I believe
does Wanano dare tackle that future? For instance, does Wanano ever think about, you know, actually sitting down and getting engineers to start the process of designing the car?
Yeah, I do that a lot. I actually have friends who are studying this engineering for cars in UB, and I'll be like, oh, show me your picture. Could you draw this for me? Could you do this for me? So they'll be like, that thing I can do. So I'm really interested in seeing what the upcoming generation can do. So I believe the time is coming where we'll be producing.
There's a guest I interviewed not so long ago who showed me that they are manufacturing laptops, they are manufacturing, you know, refrigerators, they are manufacturing television sets indigenously here in Botswana.
Wow.
So there's no reason why we can't do the same for cars.
Exactly. And I believe you have the same spirit, because the time I was passing by, I was wondering, why is Mogobe Plaza in CBD? How did he come to CBD? Because the expectations that you're expecting to see the FMBs, the ABSAs, the big companies, but here is a locally owned property, owned by Botswana fully, you know. So I was happy to see that. I believe, and I just want to thank you for pushing entrepreneurship, pushing business despite your highly paying profession. Because, you know, my dad is a doctor, so one of the things he's always telling me he regrets is not fully going into business. You see? So I really appreciate you, because you are showing us, the young generation, coming that, no, it's possible. You can own a plaza in the middle of the central business district while it's still new, in fact.
Thank you so much. You're very kind with those words.
Yes,
now let's talk again about investors for growth. Are you exploring the possibility of approaching angel investors and venture capitalists? What action are you taking in terms of meeting up with investors for the purpose of scaling your business?
For now, I'd say, because the business has structure now, because I have come to see the growth of the business and people have come to see and trust it, I am in the process of meeting people. So far, I'd say we have an investor, he's invested $500,000 in us. But like I say, I always pick and choose, because it's very necessary to trust who you're working with. It's very necessary for the person you're working with to trust you and your company. So I approach an investor based on trust more than I just want to get money. I think if I just wanted to get money, it would be very easy, but we really want to work with people who see us manufacturing cars as well in the future. People who will know that their money is safe the same way our customers know that their money is safe. So for investors, we're looking into it, and we're talking to some people currently, because we are noticing that we're losing out on a large share of the market. We've built the brand to the position that even our influencer is the most influential influencer on social media right now. And he really loves cars. You know, when I met him, his in-depth knowledge of cars was just amazing. So it was almost like that God-given thing, like I say. He had so many offers from even reputable dealerships that are bigger and could have paid him better than us, but he chose to work with us. So I believe the more I see him and other people talk about we want to support local businesses and other things, even our investors will have the same heart, because everything we do is to make sure that Botswana can take care of themselves. All my employees, I make sure they're able to take care of themselves, they're getting substantial salaries that can facilitate for someone to grow. Even in the company, I always encourage them, no, if you need training in something, we're willing as a company to even sponsor that. So those are the things we're looking into, and I believe the more people hear about us, the more people talk to us, the more people will love and even...
Yeah. Let me just take a moment to mention Angel Network Botswana,
yes, sir.
which I formed with others about 2 years ago.
Yes, sir.
We have already invested in about, 9 startups, some outside Botswana, but mostly here in Botswana.
That's good.
So consider us. Check out our website, check out how we can help.
Yes,
The
sir.
idea is to offer mentorship and to also offer funding for young startups which are promising. We're looking obviously at people who have the greatest potential for exponential growth.
Wow.
So if you are minded along those lines, if you have the same mindset,
Yes, sir.
try us out. Obviously what we do is we make sure that you are ready to receive the investment. So we have two standards. One, are you investable, which is very, very important, and are you scalable?
Exactly.
If you meet those two requirements, we're good to go. So give us a try, spare a thought for us. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm talking to the listeners out there as well.
Exactly. Oh, that's good. I don't know. I wish I met you earlier.
It's never too late.
Yeah, it's never too late. I love what you're doing. I remember when I was in the process of getting a loan from the bank, they had all these requirements. But to see the way the bankers loved us, they would see our statements, they'll be like, okay, no, next time do this. So I really love mentorship. I believe you need to be mentored before you get money. You need to know what this money is going to do, what's the purpose, and like you say, is it scalable?
Yeah.
So we'll definitely look into that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my assistant jotting the name down. Definitely, you'll be receiving a call from us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about prospects for growth now. And let me ask you the crystal ball question. And here, please keep an open mind in terms of what your crystal ball tells you 10, 15 years down the line. What do we expect to see? And I'm not just thinking about Wanano Motors. I'm also thinking about brand Wanano Tsetse himself.
Yes,
what can we expect and hope for?
I feel like we can expect. I know we can expect a lot from me. Currently, we are working on 5 other companies which will be sort of supporting this one, or this one supporting them. So we are looking towards building other companies the same way we built this company, to ensure that there's growth and to ensure that there's like an interconnection. One thing I've noticed about multinational companies, they have investments in other areas or other markets. So what I've seen is that as we grow, other opportunities present themselves. So we noticed that it will be best for us to move into other sectors, to take on other tasks, because 1, we already have the brand, 2, we already have the structures. So what we just feel in is the passion, is the drive, is the work. So we believe next 10 to 15 years, might see us maybe in property, might see us, like I say, manufacturing of cars is highly on the table. You might see us, creating a digital platform the same way our Japanese suppliers are creating digital platforms, and we'll be shipping out cars to other countries. Because I believe that's the beauty of being landlocked or being forced to think in an entrepreneurial route. You always have to be coming up with something. That's what the Dubaians are doing. That's what they did. They had to think within, how can we invest within ourselves and then export ourselves to people.
Okay.
Yeah, so 10 to 15 years, I believe there'll be many companies.
Okay.
Yes,
There is obviously a proliferation of vehicles now in the country.
yes sir.
There was a time when there was indirect complaint by government that there are just too many cars on the road.
Yes sir.
To me, that is both an advantage and a disadvantage for the country.
That's
Do you
true.
want to talk to that, how your industry has led to this massive proliferation where even messengers, people of very low standing, have vehicles, which to me is a plus.
Yeah.
But there's also the minuses. Do you want to talk to those dynamics?
Yes, sir. I'd say, first and foremost, we need to address the issue of attitude. Does our government have an attitude of growth, or does it have an attitude of let's be comfortable? That's the first thing we must tackle. If they have a growth attitude, the issue of growth wouldn't be an issue. I have an issue of growth right now. Too many customers. How do I sell this? As an entrepreneur, I have to find a way of accommodating all of this. And the beautiful thing about life, no one is forcing me to accommodate them or keep all these customers. No, it more comes as a obligation, a social responsibility on my side to ensure people get these cars. Speaking on the issue of roads being clustered, the issue of too many
Congestion,
cars. Yeah. They're building flyovers, which is amazing. They're doing the best they can. And I believe this is a time to notice that Botswana is growing. Botswana has changed from the past 50 years, 60 years. So you need to continually change as well. I remember my father was telling me something interesting. He was telling me how, the time they were young, there was no gate in Orapa. He's a doctor in Orapa. There was no Botswana. It was just
open.
Lands and lands, open lands. Within a short time, you had all these big buildings, the big machinery, the ground has been opened, you see. Same with Gaborone. Gaborone is continually changing before our eyes.
I grew up here, so I used to know everybody. Now, every day I knew
someone new.
Yeah, when we were little, we knew each other. The only mall that existed was the main mall.
So everyone was meeting
there? Yeah,
there?
we just meeting there and knew the entire neighborhood.
And I think your generation had so many opportunities because I once had a gentleman tell me, back then land board was hounding you to give you land in G West, phase 2 prominent areas.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was too lazy to take it. Today I'm regretting. So I feel it's always about adaptability. It's always about having an attitude of changing. Even myself as an entrepreneur, I'm always changing. I had to learn that a marketer knows marketing. I'm not a marketer. I'm an entrepreneur. So you need to leave a marketer to marketing. You need to leave an accountant to account. You need to leave an HR to HR. So I believe the government can take that route as well. Trust your entrepreneurs. As the economy is growing, I believe capitalists or entrepreneurs are the best route the government can go. It's been proven with Randra.
Well, I guess so. That's why they've created the Ministry of Entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
I was ululating. I was jumping up and down when it was announced last week.
Yeah.
Ministry of Entrepreneurship. Wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So you feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I hope it'll perform the way we're thinking. Promises has been made regarding trade
But the
licenses.
first thing I think they should
many
do is
things.
appoint a minister who's been an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
That's a starting point. And have a permanent secretary who has run a business.
Exactly.
My worst nightmare is to have more bureaucrats running those. That would be a nightmare.
Yeah, I think I'm laughing because I once applied at a government agency for a certain fund. I told those guys, it was even before Corona, I told those guys, no, the world is going digital. This is how I'm going to do my business every week. There will be those podcasts and all of that. That's how we'll be marketing ourselves digitally. They said, no, we can't fund you. What you want to do is too much, everything. And lo and behold, when Corona came, the very idea I was saying was what everyone was doing. So I went back to them. I said, guys, I could have made a lot of money. All I needed was a room, that camera you give me, that was it.
That's it.
Yeah, so I really love when you say you need an entrepreneur to be in that office because myself, I need an entrepreneur there. I don't need someone who's scared. I don't need someone who doesn't understand business.
I dare government, places like Leah, places like SEDA, if they could just have retired entrepreneurs or semi-retired entrepreneurs, or just people who've been in business,
Exactly.
everything would change dramatically. Because
So
the
dramatic.
mindset is totally different. Yeah. Because
And
there is an entrepreneur's mindset, what can we do?
Exactly.
Whereas a bureaucrat's mindset is, what can go wrong? You know? What can go wrong? So it's a different mindset.
Yeah, totally
so
different
we are focused
dynamics.
on what can go right, they're focused
Exactly.
on what can go wrong.
And the sad part is that more than once, it has been proven that the entrepreneurial route works. You have different countries proving it continually. You know, America proved it in its
The
highest
Dubais of this world, the
Dubai.
Singapores of this world, America,
It's so
of course.
shocking.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so shocking.
All right. Now, you say you have 15 people at the moment. What qualities do you look at when you bring in people, especially when you have a growth mindset? What are the qualities that you focus on when you bring your people in?
I think one of the main qualities I look at when employing a person is their propensity to change. Like, how willing are you to adapt? Because I remember when we were studying business studies in Form 5, I think, and then I was getting 90%, 100% on those tests. Along the way, you find that they changed the marking system. They introduced something called they test the knowledge and application. So they introduced what we call application. How do you apply yourself to the business that you are talking about? So you find that a lot of us who were getting 100% started getting 60% because we're regurgitating the textbook. So I don't want that within my employees. Yeah, I want my employees to be able to apply themselves to the work because it's a constantly changing environment. It's constantly demanding that you develop tough skin, you see. It's constantly demanding that you know that you are here to serve people. One of the things we're facing as a company was customer service. Like, we didn't even know what customer service meant. We just knew that when someone walks in, you know, you serve them that water, you tell them about yourself, and you sign. But it's more than that. It begins from the moment you advertise, to the moment they walk in, to the moment you help them, to the moment you give them the car, and even after they're gone. So you find even today, you know, a lot of my employees have adapted to even calling customers randomly. Oh, we're just checking on you. How's your car? Everything. So it's going so well right now. So when I employ, skills are very important, but a lot of people's skills are unable to apply. So I'd rather teach you the skill if I know you're applicable.
Yeah, I read somewhere where Elon Musk was saying that he doesn't consider the degrees anymore. Degrees and PhDs is more interested in the person's aptitude and the people's skills.
Exactly. Yeah, and the attitude, you know, it really matters a lot. Your attitude will affect your people skills, like you say. It will affect how you take your job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that he said that, because a lot of employers have actually complained about what's happening. You get a person with a degree, 5.0 GPO, but they can't do their job. You see, so
it's more about people's skills and emotional intelligence. It's a big one.
Yeah, that's very true.
Okay, this is your chance to hit me with a question. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Mogobe. I really just love how to know. I really love how to know what drove you to stop practicing law, or to do it at a lesser scale and focus on other businesses, especially property. I've noticed you are really into property, and I love it a lot as well.
Twofold. One is personal development, because I'm obsessed.
Yes,
those days I was reading one book a week, and I was watching podcasts. I still do that. I still watch something motivational every single morning, but it's not as bad as it was. Bad in a good way.
Yeah, it was a bad
then.
good.
Yeah,
if that's English.
Good bad. Yeah. So that really drove me.
Yeah.
The religious component as well, the faith. I felt that I could do it, and it was the right time.
Yes.
And then thirdly and ultimately, it was the numbers. The numbers were screaming at me, because I was running them at tandem, side by side, the property and the law firm at the same time.
Yeah.
But as time went on, the property dwarfed in terms of completely dwarfed what was coming from the law firm.
True.
There was a time when I did the numbers, the law firm was generating 3% of the monthly income that was coming.
Wow.
So when you apply the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, you know, the 80%, so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But more importantly, in 2013, when I physically pulled out,
Yeah.
I called this building my magnificent obsession.
Yeah.
So I wanted to focus on this magnificent obsession in terms of purchasing steel, running around and negotiating with Steel Junction, Builders World, going back and forth, you know, helping the workers, get like a really like a myself, and getting my hands dirty. I was enjoying that.
Yeah.
I remember that my clients used to complain bitterly and used to even come on site. Mr. Mogobe, please do my case, do my case. I had to stand my ground and say I can't do it, so I can focus. So that was the three influential factors that caused me to say, let's go the entrepreneurial route.
Would you say maybe it took a while, or you felt you left at the right time?
I think it was the right time. Everything works out for good.
Yeah.
But sometimes I fantasize and say, oh, if I had done it 10 years earlier,
where
would I be? So those are just fantasies. All right. Okay, Mr. Tsetse.
Yes,
Wanano,
Mr. Mogobe.
look at that camera there.
Yes, sir.
Speak to that individual who may be watching and leave them with something motivational and something uplifting as we end our conversation.
First and foremost, I just want to thank you for listening so far. I believe these podcasts will help you a lot as an entrepreneur. Like Mr. Mogobe says, I too listen to many podcasts. I sleep listening to podcasts. I've read books. And all of that is to change your mindset, change your attitude towards risk, which you are going to face as an entrepreneur, is to change your attitude towards life as well. Because one of your major duties as an entrepreneur is to develop the place or location where you are and to bring value to it. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be very challenging, but the rewards will be worth it. I believe you too, you look at your skills or what you are qualified for and look at your business and see that that 3% is not worth the 97% you are getting. So let's continuing on. You know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day, but even Rome fell. So as an entrepreneur, always know that you are a human being. You know, you have your mistakes, you have your failures. That's normal. Always be ready to learn. Always be ready to listen. And I stress the importance of having the right people around you. Select your friends. Select your business mentors. Select everybody. My therapist once told me, get someone who's better than you, get someone who's on your level, and get someone who you are better than. And that will balance you out as you grow. The one you feel you are better in, then will humble you. The one at your level will encourage you. And the one above you will help you see things you can't see. So it's always best, keep moving forward, keep believing in your dream, and don't be scared to let go if something is not working. You know, don't be scared to try new things. So go out there, make Botswana better. I believe in you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Thank
Just
you.
share with them your contact details. But wait a minute, you said you're in therapy?
Yeah, I believe it's very important, sir. Actually, my therapist recommended me to come here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
why is therapy important?
Therapy is important because, like you say, the aspect of emotional intelligence is very much necessary in business. Okay. Remember, people are emotional. You know, people, they also don't have the experience you have in your line of business. Mm-hmm. So you may know your supplier, you may know your car's good, you may know all of these things, but they don't know that.
There's always another way of looking at it.
There's always another way of looking at it. So people will still think you're a scam even 20 years into it, 10 years into it, no matter how much you give them the receipts per se. So you need to know how to make someone feel comfortable and trust you with that. Mm-hmm. And part of that incorporates knowing yourself. Mm-hmm. It incorporates knowing your issues, your weaknesses, your strengths, and capitalizing on that. And I believe it's important to have a third person look into you.
Okay. So he's a therapist and a coach from what you're telling me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Can you share your contact details for the benefit of the viewer if they want to use your services?
Yes, sir. For our contact details as Wanano Motors, you can contact us on 76657533. Again, that's 76657533. Alternatively, you can use our landline 397-0012. That's 397-0012.
Social media?
Social media, you can follow our page, Wanano Motors. That's WANANO space Motors.
Okay.
But I don't think it'll be hard for you guys to find us there. We are there highly.
Is that Facebook, Instagram?
We're on
LinkedIn?
Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram. I think the TikTok account should be running soon as well.
Okay.
But mainly we're on Facebook, so that's where they can find us.
All right. You've done a great job, sir. It was
Thank
a
you
good
so much.
interview. Thank you.
I'm very happy, sir.
Okay.